Okay, look at that. Bang on time. 10 a.m. exactly on the dot. You love to see it. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing all right. Having a good Friday. Not that it's actually Good Friday, because that's like an Easter thing. 2 seconds. Okay, having a sip of my tea. I forgot to pick up my water as well, which is good. So hi guys, hopefully everyone is feeling good and feeling positive. Few things, or the one that I can think of off the top of my head, is this is the last session. I did title it and now the title's gone, which is a bit strange. I'm going to retitle it. So I'm going to call it Animation Project. And the reason I'm going to call it that is, like I said last week, we've been looking at how to do a bunch of different stuff. I'm going to throw a bunch of it together. So animating shapes, animating images, using EPS files to get out the different vectors as well, which we did last week. What else? What else are we going to do? Adding a bit of sound in as well. So I think you'll find your animations live and die by how good the sound is often, because the animation on screen might not be a lot happening, and you'll see what I mean when I create this one today. But there might not be a great deal happening on the screen, but you can add little sound effects in to make it seem a little bit more not realistic, but a little bit more interactive, as in things are moving and you get a sense of that as well. So that'll be quite cool. We'll have a little look at that. I have included a link in the description under resources. Ow, my finger. Under resources, and that has got, if you go to that link, I will show you that what's in there now actually, dead quick. So if you go to that link that that is in the description of this video, there should be it's called Final Animation, and there's a bunch of different stuff here. So we've got the original EPS file, which is all them separate little vectors that were drawn that we were messing around with last week. I've exported some of them. So I exported a cloud image from it. I exported a rocket. I also grabbed a free version of Mars and a starry background. So you can probably see where this is going. I got some green screen footage as well, which I'm going to have a little play around with, because I realised I didn't show you guys how to key stuff out, which is like one of the main features you might use in animation if you are trying to animate like something onto a different background. So that is something you can mess around with as well, green screen. And then I've got a bunch of sounds in there as well. So there's a clong and a record scratch and a rocket countdown and blast off. So there's absolutely no points for working out what we're going to be animating today. The thin places is a little music track that I used, and I'll show you why I used that later on, but I'm just going to close that for now. Where are we at? Yeah, so hi guys, anyway, just to recap. So I've got Charlotte, Sue and Andy is here as well. So morning guys. If you've got any questions on anything from today, as always, just give me a shout. I will be getting in touch probably next week at this rate, if I'm being honest, because it's a bank holiday as well. Might be Tuesday or Wednesday, about just, there's like a little feedback section in the enrollment form, and I can just fill it in with you over email or over the phone or over Messenger or whatever it is. As long as you can answer those questions for us, that would be great. It's just like how have you improved your skills and like the distance traveled star, but I'll get in touch with you guys separately, just to see what you think. But I'll try and do it over email, but if you'd rather do it over like Messenger or WhatsApp or whatever, that's fine as well. I think that's all the boring housekeeping that I can think of off of the top of my head. There'll be something, I'll have missed something. Oh, the survey as well. If you could get, obviously this is the last session. If you could get the last survey done as well, just towards the end. Actually, I haven't said that. I'll probably have a break halfway through, like I normally do, and we'll do it then. I know some of you guys haven't started using animation stuff. You're just watching along and making some notes and getting some ideas on animations you want to do. If you're having any trouble with the software itself, as in setting it up, again, give me a shout, email, Messenger, WhatsApp, whatever it is. Give me a buzz. and we will crack on. We'll see what we're going to do today. So first things first, just to explain what I've done. I've obviously shown you all the files on the drive there. If I go into my animation course folder, because I'm so organized, and look, and then I go back into this vector one, you'll see some of the stuff from last week when we did our little animations with the different vectors. Now we're gonna create a couple of a few scenes and combine them together in one timeline. So it's going to be like multiple pre-compositions, composite shots. Sorry, that's what they're called. So I took that, if you remember that EPS file, that like big horrible mess where it's like all of them together. When it loads. No, you're not loading. Just a white screen. Okay, thanks. Thanks for your help. We'll try it in Illustrator and I'll show you what I mean. This one's not the only one in the world that you can use, but remember this was downloaded from Freepik, so that was freepik.com, and they have like vector files like this, and I just separated out a few of them. So I just took the cloud, so remember you can just double click, highlight over it, and you can edit, copy, and you can create like a new document. So you can go file a new, and you can just paste that in there. And what I did with these ones is I scaled them up. So I held down shift, scaled them up, and repositioned them in the center using the align tools, and then I just clicked on them, and at the minute they're grey, so I just changed them. Obviously I want the cloud to be white. Now it might look like there's no there because the background's white as well, but when you go to file and export and change it to PNG, can you see there, you can just about make that out that there's a cloud in there. I'm not going to do it again because I've already got one, but that's all I did to prepare them. You don't have to do that in this particular instance, but if you did want to do it, remember I did take you through the process last week. It should work in the free versions like Inkscape. You should be able to take an EPS in and highlight the individual bits that you want. If you're having any trouble with that as well, give me a shout. I know a couple of you guys have got laptops on loan from us that might have Illustrator on as well. So just let me know if you are struggling with them, and I can give you a hand getting your vectors out of Illustrator or your EPS file. I've tilted the camera and like chopped the top of my head off as well, which I didn't really mean to do. Okay. So I've separated out the rocket and the clouds from that. And as you can see, I did a bit of testing with various projects, but I've also got some green screen footage in here as well. So I'll just open that up and just show you what I've got. So there's just like a little rocket jet, like a jet fire coming out the back there. I've got these as green screen footage, so I've got an explosion as well, and this one has a sound, I think, so that's audio. That was probably really loud. Now I've got these as green screen footage from like a stock library on YouTube. The reason I've done that is we could we could generate a fire effect or a jet effect, but I don't want to take up the full 2 hours doing that because it can be quite a lengthy process. And I'm also thinking, and let me know if you're interested in 3D animation, because at the minute we've been doing pretty much 2D animation, like rock solid. And the reason I've done that is because it's the introduction. I am planning on doing a more advanced session that is going to be looking at 3D animation and possibly a little bit of like character rigging. I don't know whether it's going to be a course or a one-day session. I'm not sure yet. I haven't worked it out. I will need a bit of feedback from you guys on how you've got on with this as well, and whether, because if you're really struggling with some of these aspects, I can recover them. If we've flown through this, I can jump onto the 3D stuff. But the 3D stuff where you start generating actual effects like fire and sparks and lightning and all that kind of stuff, it's really cool. But it's quite advanced, especially when it comes to actually like making it move. So you can generate like fire coming from one area, but then having it animate around the scene with something else can be quite difficult. So yeah, just let me know how you get on. Yeah, Andy, great. Good that you'd be up for it. That'll be fantastic. I'll try and work out how the best way to like structure it is, because it's quite complicated, that bit, but once you get it, it's once you've done like 1 or 2 exercises in it, it starts to make a lot more sense. So I will try and think how to best do that session or those sessions. Email will be better. Yeah, sure, that's fine. I can email you. That's no problem at all. I don't know how the audio's coming through today. I've moved my mic back a little bit because it was like giving us loads of red warning messages before, but I might just leave it there for now. Okay, so I guess we'll get started. So I'm not babbling on for too long. So all I'm going to do, as always, I've just opened HitFilm Express. This is the first screen you should see. It might pop up with a little box here saying like it needs an update or something like that. If it does need an update, update it. If not, come up to new. Now we're going to make a new composition. So a new project, sorry. And I always get the duration on this wrong. I think that's minutes, so I'm just going to set that to 1 minute. So 00001. Yeah, I think that's minutes, seconds, milliseconds, like frames there, I think. I'm going to leave it on 25, 1920, 1080. That should be all right. Okay, that. Pretty much the same settings we've been using every week. Remember, the more frames you have, the smoother it is, but the more animating you have to do because there's more gaps. So when you expand this, every second here, so 0, that being 0, that being 1 here. If yours is on 60 frames per second, there's 60 individual frames in between here, whereas at the minute there's only 25. So if you wanted a super smooth animation, you might do it at 30. But then there's more animating to do because stuff's got to move more across the space of 1 second because it's playing more frames in a row. Whereas if it's on 25, there's fewer frames in between. If all that sort of stuff doesn't make sense as well, give me a shout and I can try and explain it a little bit better. But we did sort of cover it on the first one, but if you need us to go back over it, I can do. Take a sip out of my giant mug of tea. Right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do, before I bring in anything, I'm going to create a new composite shot. And because I'm going to aim to get a minute animation out here. It's not going to be amazing. It's not going to be like fully refined. It's just going to give you guys like an idea of what the sort of skeleton of an animation would look like. The bare bones, if you would. So I'm going to make that 20 seconds long. And I'm then going to, instead of call it composite shot 1, I'm going to call it scene 1. 20 seconds long. I'm going to keep it exactly the same settings, so it's going to match the timeline, and I'm just going to OK that. So now I've got a 20-second timeline here in my composite shot called scene 1. Now, if you remember, when you open your composite shot, it gives you all the options to animate your layers and stuff, and you can do all sorts of weird and wacky things. Add all your effects and that in there. Whereas in the editor, you can't really do that. There's no options to add like different layers and stuff in here. It gets a little bit more complicated. So we're going to make 3 scenes. And the reason we're going to make 3 scenes is because we want something different to happen in each scene. And having it all animate in one composite shot becomes really difficult because say you want to move an object from the bottom left and then it has to go up to the top right. And then if you wanted to then jump to say coming in from the left because you've moved on in time. So say it's a car, for example. We'll take the example of a car. So the car starts here, it drives off and it leaves the scene there. Yeah, so it's now left the canvas. It wouldn't really make sense for it to have it to come straight like back in from the other side as if it's like in a continuous loop. So what you might do is make scene 1, animate your car leaving, yeah, so it leaves here, and then you would create a new composite shot called scene 2, and then you might have it at a slightly different scale. So you might have zoomed in on the you might have scaled the car up so it looks like the camera zoomed in. And then you might have like something else going on in the background as well. So it gives your animation a bit more depth. So it's not just one background and one like object moving around in it. You can cut to different scenes which have like different levels, different scales and different stuff happening behind it. Which again, that's another little thing that'll take your animations from just being like, okay, well this thing's moving that way on a road or in the sky, to being a little bit more like you're telling a story. So that's what today is about. It's like it's a project rather than just like one specific technique of animation. I'm going to try and show you how to like link stuff together so that it tells like a little mini mini story, even if it's without words. You don't necessarily have to have like a voiceover or anything. Quickly catch up with the chat before we probably get started as well. 3D would be handy. Get the grips to try my own 2D animation because they want to animate some helicopter footage. Yeah, so that'll be good if you can get like models of the 3D stuff as well. Anything I was wondering if Film Express can do where you put your hand drawing in a frame by frame animation, if that makes sense. Yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff on there where you can do like reveal effects of different parts of the animation. I will have a little look specifically in Hit Film, Charlotte, because I know After Effects might be your best bet for that. But I will have a look to see if Hit Film does it, because some of the stuff you have to buy add-ons, which isn't the best because they're quite expensive. Sometimes some of them are quite cheap, but we'll have a look. If you can, when I email you, Charlotte, if you can just remember to ask us that question as well, and I'll send you some information on how to do drawn reveals and hand drawn effect and things like that. Okay, so we're gonna get started. So I've got my scene 1 here. I'm also going to create a folder, and I'm going to call that folder. I've typed the word folder in because I'm saying it out loud. I'm going to call that folder scene 1, and I'm going to drag me composite shot into scene 1. And then with this selected, I'm going to import. What do I want in scene 1? I want the rocket, and I probably want the clouds, and I probably also want, you remember that jet, the jet fire. I'm going to also bring in a sound effect called hydraulic lift, and you'll see why soon. So I'm just going to import all that, and I did that while I had that scene 1 folder selected, so it drops it all into that folder, and I can just minimize that if I need to, if I need a bit more workspace down here. So first of all, in my composite shot, I've got this black background. Remember, you can change that by going to your options, and you can change the background color, and often just have it on the checkerboard, which is just showing you the transparency. I'm going to create a little background first. So I'm just going to get a couple of color codes. So I'm going to it doesn't matter really what color you make. You know, you can make it whatever color you want depending on what you want your animation to look like, but I am going to just do new layer, plane, and then I'm going to click on the color box, and in here I'm going to type in 567 D46. And actually, I'm not really a fan of that one, so I'm going to try a different one. I'm going to do 7EC850 like that, and I'm going to call that ground. I'm just going to move that down because that's going to be me ground plane. So I'm going to have that about there, I think. And I'm going to scroll back to fit. And then what I need next is the sky. So I'm going to do sky blue color code if I can find one. That one looks nice. Let's try that. So let's do new layer, plane, and we'll call that sky. And open that up, and we'll do 00CCFF. That might be a bit bland, that one, but we'll try it. And at the moment, that's above the ground, so I just need to drag that one below. So I've got my flat ground and my sky there. Yeah. I'm going to drag I'm going to drag a cloud in for now and drop it in there. I'm not going to animate these yet. I'm going to worry about that last. So I'll just drag one there. I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to pull another one sort of down here like that. And then I might just scale that up a little bit. So I might have that on 150%. Remember, you can just drag that number out. So I might have that like that. And then I might duplicate the small one again. So that's the first one. So remember, Control and D will duplicate, or you can right click on your layer when it's selected and go up to duplicate there. Yeah, so I'm just building a little scene here. I'm going to drag that over and up to like there. And again, I might drop that one down, drop down to transform, head over to scale, hover my mouse over and just click and drag it up a little bit. So it's a little bit bigger. So I've got like a very basic scene there, and that's using one of those vector shapes that I imported from last week. Yeah, Charlotte, I'll have a look at the specific effect for the like the writing on. You can definitely do a slideshow with the transitions between them. I think what would be quite nice is if we can get like an effect where it's sort of, it looks like it's being almost like scribbled in or like sketched on. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head. I'll have to do a little research, but there will be a way to do it. I'm just not sure yet. But if you drop me that in an email, I will be able to give you some advice, and possibly find some like instructions for it as well, hopefully. Sue, you're asking how I did the color codes. I'll let you into a little secret. I literally just Googled it. So I just Googled sky blue color code, and then I picked one that I liked, and then I just take out that. And if I say before I went for grass green, so I just type in grass green on the top, and then you get some color codes that you might like the look of, and just try them. So that those color codes go in. I've pressed the wrong window there. Whoops. So when you are creating a new plane, so new layer plane, and you click on your color box there, yeah, those color codes are going in the bottom right, and it already puts the hash key in for you as well. So you just delete it all apart from the hash key, and then just type that color code in, and then that'll give you that specific color. So that's like your HTML hash key. How do they call it again? Is it just HTML? I think it might be. Yeah, like an HTML hex code. That's it. Your hex code. That's what I want. So your hex code is like the hash and then the number. So you could Google that as well. You could Google like sky blue, not Sky Sports. Sky blue hex code, and then it will come up with them as well, like there. And I think if you click on images, a few of them will have like them labeled. So yeah, like there and there. So yeah, you can just grab them like that. We'll get rid of that window now as well. Put it on the other monitor. So yeah, I've made a little scene. At the moment, it does absolutely nothing. So I've created a floor and a sky, and I've done that using just the planes. Yeah. So my ground plane at the moment is like this flat square. That's all right. You can leave it as a flat square. You could also, if you wanted to like round the corners off, get your pen tool and draw like a mask. Except I've put the wrong point in there, so you could draw. Oops. So let's delete that mask out. So click on my ground plane, get my pen tool. Sort of remember, if you click and drag on the mask, it rounds out the corners as well. And if I hold shift between here and here, it'll draw a perfect straight line. And then if I go let go shift, click down here and drag out my point, can you see it's going to give us a rounded line again? And then I might just want to go round and back to where I started. And can you see that's just rounded the corners of the ground off there as well, which again can be quite can change how it looks a little bit, so it's not just a flat box. You might want it to be a flat box, that's fine. Sometimes it looks better. Sometimes you might be doing an animation where all the things you've drawn are quite square, or the opposite, you might have done everything's quite round, so you want to round the corners on anything. And I think it kind of matches, like, you know, the clouds have got like a round corner, so I've got the ground to have a little bit more of a round corner as well. I might just want to nudge that down the touch as well. So I've made like a little hill rather than it being a flat box. Yeah, so that's my little scene there. I've got nothing happening at the minute, and I'm not going to worry about the clouds. I am going to animate them eventually, but I'm going to do that probably last. That's going to be like one of the finishing touches. So if I go back into my scene 1 folder, I've got my rocket, remember? Yeah, so I can just literally click and drag that, drop it in the scene. And I'm going to position it roughly in the bottom left, but I am also going to scale it. So I'm just going to drop down the arrow, transform, and then I'm going to set the scale at 200%. And shift it to about there. Okay. So at the moment, again, not really doing anything. So we're going to start adding some keyframes in again. And to do that, what I'm going to do first and this is, I'm going to completely freewheel this today and just think what you've got to try and do is think how, I'm actually going to scale that up a little bit more as well, actually, so it's a little bit bigger. Imagine how you think the rocket should look if it's gonna take off. So what would it do in like a sequence? It doesn't have to be ultra realistic. At the end of the day, this is a cartoon animation. Do you know what I mean? This is using like a vector and some really basic shapes. So it doesn't have to be like hyper realistic, where you don't have to watch like NASA launches or anything, or SpaceX launches, and Elon Musk's not going to be like ringing you up and saying this animation isn't realistic. So I think you might be all right. Just give it a bit of imagination. With this one, can you remember last week I was harping on and on about the anchor point? And if you remember what the anchor point is, it's this center point here. So that is if you do any kind of changes to transformation properties here. So if I rotate it, for example, if I actually, can you see it's rotating from that point? So the point of rotation is the anchor point, which is that little white sort of plus sign in the middle. So if I was to scale it, it's going to scale from that point. If I was to rotate it, it's going to rotate from that point. So I'm going to change that anchor point to be on the bottom edge here. And the way I'm going to do that is just go to anchor point. And I'm just going to drag. And it's this right-hand side one here. So I'm going to drag until that anchor point is on the bottom edge. So you can remember, scroll wheel will zoom you in. And I want it roughly in the center. Bring it down to the bottom edge there, like that. Yeah. Okay, so now when I do any rotation or movement, so if I move its position, can you see it's moving from that bottom edge? So if it's going up and down, it's moving from that bottom edge. Yeah. And I'm just going to position it to start with, say there. Now, in the practice one I did, I had it rotate, so I had it like do a little rotating movement and then blast off. I think I might do something slightly different in this one. So I'm going to try and have it animate as if it's coming out of the ground. Let me just reset that rotation back to 0. And then I'm going to center it in the frame. So remember, you get your whatever layer you want to center, you click on it, you come over to your layout panel over here, and you've got your horizontal and vertical center. So I don't really want to vertically center it because that'll take it up, but I do want to horizontally center it so it's in the middle of the frame. So horizontally, yeah, left to right, and you've got vertical, which is up and down. So again, not really worried about the clouds. What I might want to do though is have it animate as if it's coming out of like a little sort of silo. So not that it's just flying up through the middle there, so that it's coming out of the ground almost. So all I'm going to do in that case is add a new layer, a plane, and I'm going to call that rocket. I'm just going to call it line for now because then I'll know what it is. And I'm going to just make it, I'll tell you what, let's make it 1920 1080, and then we'll just get our rectangle mask, which is over here. If you cannot see that, remember, you can click and hold and go to your rectangle mask. Just going to draw out like a little line like that. And then hopefully I can just move that. I do need it, again, with the line, need to change the anchor point. So drop that down, transform, shift the anchor point up to there, so it's in the middle. And then I should be able to just drag that down. So the idea being here, I'm going to center that as well. No, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. So the idea being here that this sort of opens up and the rocket sort of appears from behind it. So to do that, if I just, someone is at the front door, I think at least I might be able to get that, hopefully. Yeah, okay. So And then I'm going to bring me, so I've got me line there, yeah, and then what's going to happen is hopefully the rocket is going to, instead of it, you know, at the moment, it's just going to appear, I'm going to have it sort of, this bit here is then going to become invisible. I'll click on the right layer, that would help. So it's going to sort of appear from behind, yeah, and then blast off after that, after it's had a little countdown. So I'm just going to sort out the masks now, because that's another thing we did last week. We looked at the masks, so this will be a nice little recap for me as well. I want me rocket layer, don't I? 2 seconds. I'm just going to let Lisa know that if she can get the front door. Right guys, sorry about that. Little interruptions there. Okay. So got our line, got our rocket, yeah. So all I need to do now is I'm going to drag the rocket to the top. No, I'm not. That's a lie. So I'm going to create a plane, remember? So new layer, plane, and then okay that, and I'm just going to drag that down to be in line with that there, like that. And that new plane is the mask. Just stick it in Dan's office. So that's the mask for the rocket there. I think I can turn that off. So I've turned that mask for rocket layer off. I'm going to go to my rocket layer and I'm going to add an effect, and the effect is going to be set matte, and I'm going to drop down the set matte and I'm going to say source layer, mask for rocket, and I think if I not inverted, subtract. So source layer, mask for rocket, subtract, and then now when I move that, it should disappear behind it, yeah. So now it's as if it's appearing from in between that. Okay. So it's coming out of a little silo onto like a platform sort of thing, yeah. Which again, just rather than it just sort of sitting in the middle of the frame and then blasting off, this is just going to be another little way to do things. And I've got a little sound effect for when it sort of rises out of that as well. So I will start animating that. So on my rocket, obviously when the scene starts, I want it to be hidden, yeah. So I don't want it to be visible. So I'm gonna have it transform, and its position. It's the first position I wanted to have at 0, 0, 0, 0 is here. So I'm gonna set a keyframe on position, and we've got 20 seconds in this. So I'm gonna say for 4 seconds of this first scene, I want the rocket to be animating in. I'll just scale that back to fit. So I want it to go to about there, I would say. So for the first 4 seconds, it's just gonna that's all it's doing. It's just slowly animating out of there, yeah. And during that time, remember I brought in my hydraulic lift sound. I'm gonna trim the end of that down. So I'll play that for you. Yeah. So that this one goes on for quite a long while. But I know I want 4 seconds of it. So I take the timer here in this bottom left of it, preview window. So I double clicked on it, took the timer to 4 seconds, and I'm just gonna mark what we call an out point. So I'll mark an out point there, and just click and drag that into the scene, and line that up with here. So now hopefully, okay, right, it hasn't quite started quickly enough, so let's take that back. Yeah, So I've actually forgot to import this one as well. So I'm going to click on my scene. I'm going to click import. And you remember I've made reference to a clong sound. So if I double click on that, that's going to be the sound that it plays when it sort of sits still. So the point that it stops, yeah. So instead of it just that hydraulic lift sound ending, we're going to have it like a little sound effect play when it stops moving. Yeah, so like it's like a metal clunk. Okay, so I'm going to just trim the end of that clip off because we don't really need that bit. So we're just marking our point there. We don't really need what's here, but we can just drag that down to there. And we can remember the block represents where it's playing. So if I leave that square there, see that the little clip sound plays right at the start. We don't want that. We want it to do like say here maybe. So we'll just play it through again. Yeah, and we could even take that back a bit so it slightly overlaps the hydraulic. So you see those two blocks, the hydraulic lift and the clong.mp3, they slightly overlap now. The two blocks, that block and that block. Play it through. Yeah. Again, might just give it a little tweak that way. Play it through one more time. Sound is really annoying because you start to get really annoyed with like, okay, that's slightly out of time and that's not working properly. Yeah, so again, the sound effect, I would encourage you while you're practicing to use any sound effect you like. Bear in mind if you're going to publish it, especially if you're attempting to like do it for someone's company or whatever, or like you might be doing it for the museum. Be careful of what sound effect you use if it's going to be used commercially. Same goes, Charlotte. I know you're talking about doing bits and pieces that you're going to put on with like attributed to your work as well. So be careful with your sound effects because some people will claim them. Or some people want credit. So if you're uploading it to YouTube or Facebook, you can just include a link in the description or the even the comments. As long as somewhere on that video you've referenced where you got say the vector or where you got the image file or the sound effect. As long as most of the time if it's Creative Commons, if it's referenced, if you included a link to the project for someone else to download it, that's fine. YouTube sometimes automatically does it, but not always. So I try my very best when I'm doing stuff like that to include it and make sure it's referenced. Because people get really mad when you don't, which rightly so, because you know that they've made something and you're just using it. So yeah, just go easy with it. And then so we've got a very basic animation with a little mask on the bottom and like a little sort of space rocket sound and a little clunk as it sort of stops. Yeah. What we probably want to do next, I'm just going to drag all these shapes. So I've just pressed shift and held on them, and I'm just going to drag these into that scene 1 folder so that I actually see what I'm doing. Can you put the references? Yes, Sue, you can put the reference. So you could do a little end scene and say in sound, like sound clip, blah blah blah, vectors by and then the person's name and the project name. You could do that as well, definitely. As long as they're attributed. Attributed. That's the right word. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about. So yeah, you could put that in the end credits. You could put it in the description of the video. As long as it's in there somewhere, they can't really say anything, especially if it's a Creative Commons license. Be careful if it's one that you just ripped off YouTube as well, because sometimes they'll say free to use in the title and then you'll drill down into it and actually it's not free to use at all. Anything I've shown you now should be alright because it's for teaching, so it's under that, it's protected by that like demonstration aspect of it. It's when you come to start publishing it yourself as like a project that you've made, you're essentially taking credit for something that someone else has done without, you know, sort of tipping your hat to them. So like I say, don't worry about it really, just double check that you'll see. I'll show you quickly while we're on the topic actually. So if I go to freepik.com, which I keep banging on about. Oh, my brain's just melting today. Like, words just aren't coming out of it properly. So if I go to freepik.com and I'll just pick the first one that I can find. So Freepik license, free for personal and commercial purpose with attribution. So I click on more info. Our license allows you to use the content for all this. It does not constitute any contractual obligations. Okay. And then there's a little section on how to attribute. So, and it gives you some examples of how. So if you're doing it on the web, you can copy and paste the link. If you're doing printed elements, you can do attribution in credit section, yeah. Image freepik.com. In a video, on online video platforms like this, paste this link. So you can paste that link underneath the video in like the section as well. So yeah, it's quite easy to attribute, and the websites like Freepik, just have a little read through and make sure the license is free to use in you want commercial project, and then that pretty much covers you for everything. Right, that's all the boring copyright nonsense out the way, but it is useful to know, don't get me wrong, it really is. You don't want to fall foul of that. So we've got our little animation popping in here. There are bits and pieces I might come back and tweak. I'm conscious of the time. So it's 10:41 now. I've talked for so long. So the next thing we would probably do is start animate it leaving the scene. So I've got a little countdown that I ripped from YouTube as well. That was free to use, but again, I would, if I was doing it in a commercial project, I'd double check. But it's called Rocket Countdown and Blast Off. Yeah. So I will just play it for you. Oh.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
Yeah, so simple as that. Little sound effect there. I'm going to drag that into scene 1, and then I'm just going to drag the whole clip into here. And remember, this block represents where it's playing. So I know that I've set this composite shot to be 20 seconds long. So if I play it through now, I might have to do a bit trimming of this animation.
10, 9, 8.
No, that seems, actually, you know what? That's worked out perfectly.
10, 9,
It's a little bit quick. I'll give you that. It's a little bit quick. So what we might do in that case, if it was a little bit quick, instead of having this animate into 4 seconds, so if I go to this keyframe, I might go to like 3.5, so 312 on there, and drag that keyframe back a little bit. So it's on that 312 there, yeah. And then what I'd have to do in this case is drop that. So that was on the rocket layer. I'd have to then move the hydraulic lift back to match that, and then I'd have to move that back there as well, and then I'll just play that back through just to make sure it's all working. And that clunk's playing a little bit early, so let me just
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
So when he says fire there, I've paused it because I know that's when I'm going to want this animation to start. I want this to start moving as soon as he says fire. So I've paused it on the moment he said fire. If you missed it, just scrub back.
1, fire.
And I'm just hitting space to pause there. So I'm hitting space to pause and start. You can do it up here as well. So you can do it here.
2, 1, fire.
Yeah. So I know that after that, because I've listened to it in here, that's where the rocket sound starts. So what I'd want to do there is go back to my rocket layer and drop down the transform property again. And I'm going to copy this keyframe, because this keyframe here is the one when it's sitting still on the floor. So I'm just going to copy that. So I highlighted it. Yeah, just click and drag over it. And I did Control C. You could also go to edit and copy. And then when I paste it, it's going to go wherever my timeline marker is. So it's going to go there. So if I just paste it. So this keyframe here is telling the rocket to stay where it is at the moment. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it. When I scrub through, you can hear the rocket sound playing, yeah? And I'm going to take it right at the end. And then I'm going to take the I can either move the position up or down using the values here, or I can literally just click and drag on it like that. So it's off the scene, yeah? So it goes out of the scene. And now if I play that through with all the sounds and all the bells and whistles. Hang on, I'll do it so you can actually see it maybe as well. So, you know, you don't have to like sit and... So we'll go back for space.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Yeah? And that right there is a very basic animation. Not very fleshed out, I will be honest. But that would be like one scene. Now, there's loads of little tweaks you could add in there. Which I will, if we have time, come back and do. I will animate the clouds. I'll give the rocket a little bit of a shake before it starts moving. I'm gonna leave that scene for now. I'm gonna call that scene for now and show you, because I am conscious of the time. What you would, like I say, what you'd do is you'd add your little touches in. You'd add the clouds animating in. You might have another sound effect with like birds chirping before all this. So as that's happening, you know, you've got your birds chirping in between, and then you can have that sound sort of cut off as the rocket blasts off. But for now, I think that's a good start to scene 1. So I'm just going to sort of leave that as it is for now. I will come back to it if I do have time. And I'm going to right click in this thing over here, and I'm going to do new folder. I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call it scene 2. Now I am going quite quick today, but it is because I'm trying to get a minute animation done in 2 hours, which as you can see is quite difficult. You don't have to go this quick. Like, please don't feel like you're under a 2-hour time constraint. You're not. You're really not. You can do this over a couple of weeks. Like, it really doesn't matter. And the beauty of having a bit more time is you can start paying a bit more attention to detail with things like the clouds, and you know, you can add a sun in, and you can add like I say, some birds sort of like faffing on in the background and that. I will come back. I'll give it a go, like doing some final touches. But I've made my new scene 2 folder. So if I drop that scene 2 folder down and just have it selected, I'm going to make a new composite shot again, remember? So you can press composite shot there. I think it's Control Shift and N. Yeah, is the shortcut. And I'm going to call that scene 2. And I'm going to OK that. So another blank scene, yeah. So for this one, I'm going to do something slightly different. And I'm going to create a little parallax effect. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to have an image, a background image, that moves one way while the rocket ship's moving the other. And to do that, I'm just going to have to, again, click on my Scene 2 folder, go to Import, and this will be on the drive as well. So you'll have like a starry background, it's called. So I'm going to open that up, and then I'm literally just going to drag that and drop that in there. Now, it's not quite 1920 1080. It's probably better to have one like that, but I'm just going to scale it up to 200. In fact, I might go 250. I'm going to scale it up to 250%. And I'm just going to drag it so that it's not... So if I zoom in. So I don't want it to overlap with the edge. Sorry, I don't want to see any of the black background. So I just want it to slightly overlap with the edge there. So you can see it's slightly... The blue line is slightly off the edge of the image. And then I'm going to bring my rocket back in as well. So if I go back to my scene 1 folder, I can just grab that rocket and just drag that straight in. Collapse my scene 1 folder again and go back to my scene 2. So quite annoyingly, it hasn't kept the anchor point the same. So again, I'm just going to scale my rocket up. So drop that down. Now, this is what I was saying before though as well. Now that this rocket's in space, so you see in here, the rocket's quite big because it's one of the main focuses of this scene. But if I go back to my scene 2, now that it's in space, I might want it to be slightly smaller to give you an idea of the scale of it. Yeah, so as in it's smaller within the bounds of space, as it probably should be. So I'm going to scale it up from what it is, but I'm probably not going to keep it the same size. So I might make it 150%. So it's not, because it was 250 in the other scene, so it was like that. I might want it slightly smaller so that it makes the background look bigger. It gives you a different perspective on the rocket sort of thing. So I also want to change the anchor point, if you remember. which is this setting here that's underneath opacity, and I want the anchor point to be on that bottom edge again. So just move the anchor point so that it lines up roughly with that edge there, and then over here on my zoom level, just go back, drop that down. Scale to fit is the one you'll want. That'll take you back to there. I am going to rotate it. So I'm underneath my transform on my rocket layer, I've got rotation, and then I've got these two values here, there, and the right hand side one, I'm just going to change that to 45 degrees. In fact, I'm going to change it to 90. I'm lying. So 90 degrees, so that's done a complete 90-degree turn. And I'm going to have it start on the left hand side. Now, I've just noticed on this starry background, my rocket is a little bit, it's like blending in with the background a little bit. It's possibly my monitor, but I can't really see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and maybe add an effect to it, and we're gonna have a glow. Maybe can we have a glow, a neon glow perhaps? Oh dear, that's very strong. So we'll turn the intensity of that down, and we'll make the color like a different color maybe. Change the blend mode a little bit, see if we can get. So this is one where you've just got to do a bit trial and error really. I tell you what, I'm going to hover over that neon glow and I'm going to delete that one. I'm going to try one of the other glows. What about just a regular old glow? If we drop that down. Why don't I have a colour? Colour A. That one doesn't seem to be right. I'll tell you what, we can probably make that neon glow work actually. So let's have a look. Let's go to neon glow again. Instead of that, we'll have the intensity on like 0.1. No, 0.1 is too low. 0.3. Yeah, so we're going to give it a little glow, and we're going to make the colour, oh god, I don't know. What about you? No, that's a bit too dark, isn't it? I think this is going to be too bright. Can we do the colour picker? One of the lighter parts of this scene. Actually, I tell you what, let's go with quite a bright one, but we'll turn the intensity to 0.3. Expansion. So expansion's how much it'll expand out of it. So for the expansion's on 0, but if you turn it all the way up, it'll expand out. And we'll just turn the radius up like that. Turn that on 100. So have a little play with them settings, to be honest with you. It's not really important. I just want to see a little bit more. So without the glow, can you see there? It's pretty dark. With the glow on, you can see it a little bit better. And again, it's just a little quick effect you can add in to make it stand out a bit more. Your blend mode will change how it looks, same as in Photoshop. So just have a little cycle through them to see which one you think's best. That is very, very bright. You could use something like that and turn like the expansion down and the radius up a little bit, so it's more of a glow off of it rather than if you turn it down, it's inside it. If you turn it up, it sort of diffuses it out. The more you turn the intensity up, the brighter it'll be. So I think we'll go for something like that. So we'll give it this like radioactive sort of look in space. For now, again, you can turn that off. You guys can have a play with that. You can even animate your glow as well. So if you I'll animate the movement and then I'll show you the animated glow. You can change the rocket layer, you can change your background. To be honest, I picked this background just because it looks nice when it sort of moves, when you make it scroll. You could change your background if you wanted. You go for a brighter one. I could have, if I wasn't stupid, I could have changed the color of the rocket in Illustrator as well. So you remember I did it with the clouds, I made them white. You could change the colour of the rocket in there. We'll go for this for now with a little glow on it. because I quite like it, quite like the glow. But you could change it if you want. You can mess around with the colours. It's entirely up to you. But time is ticking on, so I will get to it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to animate the background over the course of the 20 seconds. So the starry background, drop the layer palette, the layer options down, go to transform. I'm going to set a keyframe for its position. So I wanted to start here, and then I'm going to take my timeline marker all the way over to 20 seconds, and I'm going to change the positions. I'm going to grab that red arrow and just drag that to the right. So instead of it now overlapping the left hand side slightly, it's slightly overlapping the right. And if I just play it through, what that'll do, it'll just gently scroll. So can you see the background's just gently scrolling away? Yeah, but the rocket isn't really moving at the moment. So what we're going to do now, so that the background's going this way, we're going to have the rocket going the other way, and that's going to create like a little mini parallax effect, you call it. So we're going to do the same with the rocket. We're going to drop that down, transform. We're going to go back to 0 seconds, and we're going to set a position keyframe here. And then at 20 seconds, because I know we're going to cut to another scene, I wanted it to go off the screen completely. So I'm just going to drag it to off the screen like that. And if I just play that through now, so as the background's scrolling that way, the rocket's going the other way. Yeah, and it just creates a little bit of like bit more realistic movement as it sort of careers through space. Yeah, and it's as simple as that. And for that scene, I'm probably not going to do too much. Like I say, you could, if you want to do, on the rocket, if I drop down the effects palette, let's change that to 0.1, 0.2, let's try. You could, say, have your glow intensity, so you could have it on 0 there, and then about like, I don't know, like every second or so, every 2 seconds, you could have it sort of glow on and off, so you could have the intensity go up to like 0.5. And then you could just copy those keyframes every 2 seconds and highlight them again, and then go another 2 seconds on, so the 8 seconds this time. Oops. Paste them, and then what that would do is it would animate like a little, do you see the glow is animating as if it's like lighting up, as if it's got like some kind of beacon or flashing light on it. So yeah, that's just how you can animate the glow. And again, I'm not particularly like besotted with that, but it is something you can look to do. Like I say, you could have like a little red light on the front of it, perhaps, as if it is like a little beacon in space. But I think that should do it. And I maybe just on all of these ones take it to 0.4 instead of, so every other keyframe I'm just going to change that to 0.4 instead of 0.5. And remember, if you double click on a keyframe, it takes you to that one, so that you can edit the value by just clicking in the box and typing a number. So I'm just changing all those intensities to 0.4, so it's not quite as bright. So if I just play that through dead quick, got my little parallax effect, background scrolling one way, rockets going another. I've got the glow just sort of glowing on and off. And again, like I say, little things like that can just take your animation to the next level, because there's another little interactive element. To be honest, that glow is not the best. I might change the color to, let's get like a color code. Let's try and get like an alarm red, maybe. 1, 2, 3, 4. So FF0000. No, it doesn't seem happy with that now, does it? Oh, I'm gonna move all the keyframes back there. Didn't mean to do that. Let's change the blend mode a bit. See if we can get the red. Oh dear, set it to none. It's disappeared. I think by default it's on screen. So let's see. So let's go a bit brighter then. Okay, I'll tell you what, we'll leave it on that for now. Again, have a play around with the neon glow one. Let's turn the expansion down just a bit though. And again, it's these keyframes that you want to mess around with, so you might change them all to 0.2 and have that on like 0.1. So every other keyframe should be 0. Let's go on 0.2, so that should be 0.1. 0.2. So I just want a very slight blur on this. That's 0.1. 0.2. Double click on my keyframe. 0.1 in the intensity bit I'm changing. 0.2. 0.1. And that intensity is how much the glow is shown. That needs to be 0. Yeah, that's right. Just a slight little like glow in between, as if it's like got a flashing light on it. Turn the expansion up a little bit. Yeah, ever so slight on there. Okay, so what I might want to do with that as well, because it's like the other one had sound in it again. So this is the place where I found like quite a nice tranquil track, like a music track. So again, scene 2, import, and the soundtrack is called, it's got a bit of a weird name if I remember right. Thin Places, that's the one. So when I've imported it, it's given us the preview at the top, so I just play it. It's got like that eerie sort of electronic space vibe, but it's not like in any way scary, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm going to use that, and I'm just going to drop that in there. And again, that can take this parallax motion, so the background moving one way and the object moving another, can make that look a little bit, or make it seem a little bit better if you've got something audible in there as well. So if I drag that, drop it in the bottom, it'll just play. Except it's got that sort of long lead-in time on it. So actually I'm going to delete that out. And you see at the start of this clip here where it's showing you the sound waves, there's this little gap here where it's not really doing anything. So what I might want to do is just take it so that there's like a line, like a thin white line showing you where the play, it's called the playhead. So I'm going to take that to just before it starts and mark the what's called the in point. So we've been using the out point, the one next to it's the in point. So I press that, you see it grays out like that little sliver there. So now when I drag it in and play it from the start, it's just playing straight away. There's no like lead into it. So I'm just going to have that play as it sort of drifts through the vacuum of space with that background animating. And the background image moving from right to left is instead of you having to generate like a star field that's moving, because that's like a particle effect you call it, which is, to be honest, pretty complicated to do and lags this computer, and I don't know what kind of machine you're working on at home. It might give it a bit of trouble. So yeah, that for now is going to be our second scene. Just I'll let you listen to the very nice tranquil music. Do a bit like meditating in the corner while it's on. And yeah, and then it's just going to cut to the next scene. So that's scene 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly cut to a break. I am going to go and get a glass of water as well because I'm like choking up. But I will, if you guys can fill the survey in, and I'm going to set up the next scene because there's a couple of things I've just realised that I've put on the drive that I need to re-download, but instead of downloading them in front of you and doing it, I'll sort it out in the break, and I'll set the scene 3 up as well. So I'll stick the break screen on, and I will also stick on that nice relaxing track for you because I know how much everyone enjoyed that. Where's it gone? So we've got Thin Places here. So yeah, I'll be a couple of minutes, guys. If I'll paste the survey link in, if you could fill that in, that would be fantastic. And relax. There we are. It's like something you'd hear in like a yoga session or something. Okay, cool. So, scene 3. Let's go. So, folder. Scene 3. Nope, not scene 37. Scene 3. Enter. And then I'm going to import. What am I going to import? I'm going to import this picture of Mars. And for now, I might get my my green screen explosion and my explosion distant. Also my record scratch. So I'm just holding down control and I've just clicked on all the files that I want to import. You can import them one by one, doesn't really matter. I just find it a bit quicker to have them all in one location, hold down control, click on the ones I want to bring in and press open. It should just import them all into there. So with me scene 3 selected, can create a new composite shot. Remember, Control Shift and N is the keyboard shortcut for that. Call that scene 3. It'll get me blank template again. What I am going to do is go back into the scene 2 and get that starry background and just drag it back into there. Now, in my scene 2, I believe I made that 250%. So I'm just going to do the same. Transform. I'm going to make it 250% like that. And I am just going to zoom out a bit, and I'm just going to position it slightly differently this time. So I'm going to have it slightly further up so that it looks like it's a bit different. And it changes from scene 2 to scene 3. So I've just got that positioned just like that. Scale the fit. Click off that. So I'm gonna go back in. I'm gonna have to go back into my scene 1 folder and grab the rocket again. I'll just drag that into there and drop it down. Transform 150%. Again, rotation 90 degrees rotation. So I wonder, actually, hang on. Let me just turn that layer off. I wonder if I can copy it across. So I go into scene 2 and I copy. So controls, click on the rocket in scene 2, Control C, edit, copy. I don't know if it's going to let me, to be honest. I'll try. Oh, it has. Yeah, it has. So I Control C and just copy it across. Right. Well, that's cool because then that means it maintains that glow effect as well. But I will have to, when you copy something from one scene into another, it'll maintain all the keyframes. So if I drop that rocket down, you see it's got the movement, so it's going to keep moving from left to right. Now, the first one, I'm going to double click on that keyframe and just drag it so it's coming from the left. Yeah. And then I'm just going to delete the second keyframe out. And on the effects one, if I drop that down and go to the glow, I'm just going to leave that. That should be alright, actually. The glow should be fine. So in my scene 3 folder, I've also got this picture of Mars, which I'm just going to drag and drop into there. Now, again, comes in quite big, so I'm just going to scale that down a touch. So drop down the Mars layer, transform, scale. I'm going to put that on 50%. And move it over into the right here. Now, if we were doing a 3D animation one, I would show you how to create a sphere in a 3D environment, and you maybe have the camera sort of pan around it, and then you would have like the planet orbiting, like spinning, sorry, rotating. I'm not going to do that today, and the reason I'm not is it's quite complicated. So it's one for the 3D animation. So we're just going to stick with 2D for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to animate the. We're going to drag that out actually. So the Mars planet block at the minute isn't going to the very start, so we're just going to drag that back to the start there. So that at the minute the scene's doing now. I am going to bring in from scene 2 again. Remember the Thin Places song? So I marked me in point at 13 seconds, 13.04 seconds. Now I know that that song in scene 2 played for 20 seconds. So if I want the song to pick up exactly where it left off in the previous scene, I just need to go 20 seconds ahead of this. So I need to go to 33 there and then mark a new in point. Just drag that in to the bottom there. So between this one finishing and that one starting should be almost seamless. So I've got that bit of music in there. I've also got... Actually, hang on, I've done that. Sorry. That's right, to mark the in point. What I also need to do is mark the out point of that as well, because I know I only wanted to play for another 20 seconds. So I went 20 seconds from where the last one ended. I need to go another 20 seconds, so I need to go to 53:04 and then mark an out point. And because I've done that, I can drag that in, and that's exactly 20 seconds of the sound, the music that I need to play. So now I've got my rocket from that I copied from the other scene. It's still got that glow effect on it, which is fine. What I want to do is transform it so it's going towards the planet, yeah. And I don't know why I'm saying the planet, it's Mars. It's like Elon Musk's dream. Hopefully he's not watching today, because I don't think it's going to go how he plans. So we'll drop down the transform. I've got the first position keyframe that I copied from the other scene. I just need to set another one. So I'll say go to 15 seconds. Yeah. And then I want it at 15 seconds, I want it to be here. I also, at the moment, that's disappearing behind the planet. If I just grab the rocket layer and drag it up above Mars, it'll be on there like that. Now, the problem with that path is, can you see if I play it through? It's sort of moving almost the wrong way, like it's facing the wrong way, so I need to play about with the rotation as well. So, what I might do is set a rotation. I tell you what, actually, let's delete that keyframe that I've just added there. Let's do it another way. So I might want it to come into the frame at 10 seconds, yeah. So if I scrub to 10 seconds. Yeah, so I'm at 10 seconds, and you can check by the bottom left there. I might want to say, okay, at 10 seconds, I want you to reach here. Yeah, so for the first 10 seconds of this frame, all it's going to do is just slowly creep in. And then at 10 seconds, so if I double click on that keyframe, it'll take us back. I wanted to start rotating. So I know that the position now wants to go this way, and the rotation also wants to follow suit. So I'm just going to drag out to 15. And then I'm going to move the position so that it is towards the planet. Yeah, and can you see it's giving me a nice curve there, but I also need to change the rotation so that it's like that. At the moment, if we play it back by just pressing space, remember, not spaces in the background. Just going to do a little turn and start heading towards that. Which is all very well and good, but it's still the same size. So we've got to think of it as if when it's turning and going towards the planet, it's getting further away from the camera. So we need to start playing with the scale again as well. So at this point here, when it starts to turn, that's when we want the scale to start changing, as in we want it to get smaller to look like it's moving further away. So we're going to set a keyframe on scale on that 10-second mark. And then by the time it gets to here on 15 seconds, we want the scale to probably have dropped down to like 100 maybe. And because that's got smaller, in fact I might even make it a little bit smaller, maybe 80%. Because that's now smaller, we are going to have to change the position and the rotation again without grabbing the Mars layer, which we always seem to want to do. And then we'll just grab the rotation so it's like that. Now at the moment, can you see the animation path is curved there, which is what we to be honest, we want that because it gives it a nice smooth animation. And it's animating from that anchor point as well. It's animating from the bottom. And then it's just going to curve in like that. So if we didn't want that, if we on the position, say for example, highlighted the keyframes, remember right click, if we go to temporal interpolation, spatial interpolation, they're on auto bezier. If you change that to manual, you'd be able to come in here and change the animation path. So you could change how curved it was. And you can sort of move. That's going to move the whole one. I think it's control, is it? Is it shift? So you can grab these points here, and that, can you see it's changing the, it's very hard to see because it's on a starry background, but that's changing the path. So if I play that through now, I've dragged that path out down, and see it's gonna do something really weird now. But you can change your animation path on there as well, like that. So I'd give it like a little jump, but obviously you don't want that, so I'm just going to undo all what I've just done. In fact, I'll probably change that back to auto bezier. And what a bezier is that curve, remember? So it's like we were doing with the graph editor last week. So it should just work out, instead of the path being what we call linear. So it's like a linear would be a straight line. So a bezier is a curve. So in a straight line, that would just go and then across like that in a very jagged formation. When you have it on auto bezier, it gives it that nice curved animation. You can change it to manual if you want and sort of come in and mess around with these points here, and that'll change the path. But I'm going to leave it on auto for now. I might change these keyframes here, so these three in the middle. I might right click and go to temporal interpolation and change them to smooth and just see how that looks. So that should smooth it in and out, so it should get like a nice gentle slow as it sort of docks in there. Yeah, so can you see it just sort of lingers a little bit in the middle. So if I didn't want it to do that little linger, I could have them on smooth out instead. It just, as it starts to turn, it just decreases in speed a little bit, yeah. And that's, remember, your temporal interpolation, which is just the way that, remember, you've got your smooth in, so as it comes to a halt, it'll slow down, smooth out as it starts moving out. And you can have them on manual bezier as well, which opens the graph editor, and you can change the speed of the graph, which is again what we did last week. So if you missed that, jump back onto last week's session and you will be able to see that again. It's quite self-explanatory. That one, once you've watched the video and once you've had a go at it, you'll get it for sure. So at the moment, still got that little glow sort of pulsating on. We've just got this rocket sort of gently going through. We've got a nice calm, relaxing music. Does a little turn into there. Right, so as you probably saw from the stuff I imported before in scene 3, I have an explosion green screen bit of footage, which I'm just going to drag on. I don't really need to scale it up at the moment, but if I play it through, you see that all we need to do within the scene is just take that green out. Yeah, I'm actually going to can I mute this? Right, I'll mute that music track for now because it's going to get a little bit annoying. So this green screen footage has got a sound clip attached to it as well. Yeah, so all I need to do is manage to key that green out. So I'm just going to scale it up for now. Let's scale it up a little bit. And then under effect here, it's color difference, I believe it's called. Color difference key. And when I add that on, it just automatically works out that I want to take the green out. Because it's got the green screen color. So you can have red, blue or green. The minimum and maximum, if you take them up or down, can you see that'll remove more or less of the green. So I think by default that's on 0.65, the minimum. If you're still seeing little bits and pieces of green, you might want to take that up a little bit. Now be very careful, because if I take it up too much, can you see it? Oh, actually that one's alright. But if I take it up like 0.95, it'll start taking bits out the middle. So you see there we're losing bits in the middle. So we'll try that on 0.8 and we'll just play it through. Yeah, so that's pretty good. We don't want to view the matte. We just want to leave that as it is. And then what we want to do is, if we zoom in, we want to have this scaled. We want to have this overall footage transform and scale that back down and position it above the rocket. as if the rocket's hitting the planet. Yeah, does that make sense? So if you just play it through. Probably went a bit too far back there, but never mind. So does its little turn, does its little movement, starts heading towards the planet. Yeah. So at the point of impact there, so that is probably the bit where it hits, you would say it hits like that there. So we'll have that block come in there. And as that plume of fire goes up, yeah, to about there, we want that the rocket to disappear. So we'll drop down the rocket again. We'll go to transform, we'll skip a few frames back. So 1, 2, 3 frames back. We'll set a keyframe for its opacity. And then we'll skip 3 frames ahead. So 1, 2, 3. And we'll set its opacity to 0. Yeah. So that should now make it disappear. So if we go back to here, it's going to do its gentle swoop in. And even then, that's a little bit too far apart. So it doesn't quite disappear quickly enough. So I think we might just do literally 1 frame. So I've deleted that. So on one frame, it's on opacity 100. I've skipped ahead a frame, and I'm going to set that opacity to 0. You could have it disappear behind a mask if you wanted, so you just have it keep moving, but then disappear. Which we, to be honest, could probably do actually. Or, I tell you what would be even easier than doing it that way with the opacity. If you don't want to do it that way, one of the other things would be just have the rocket at the point it hits. So at the point that, put the opacity to 0, hang on, let's turn that back to 100. Silly boy. So at the point that it hits there and the explosion starts, so about there, we could just take this block here and just drag it in line with that, and it should just disappear. But we might want to drag it out a little bit more so that we can still see it as the flame sort of engulfs it. And we might just want to make that explosion just a touch larger as well. So back to transform. And we'll set the scale to like 45 or maybe 50. Let me try 50. But maybe even 75%. Might get away with. Yeah, and then it just disappears into that explosion. And that's just using a little bit of green screen footage. I just wanted to show you guys that as well. You don't have to necessarily generate all your effects. You can grab some daft and wacky stuff from like YouTube. It's pretty silly, but it's quite cool. And then what we're gonna do with the music as well, because at the moment I've got that track on mute. Probably unmute that. So as that happens, as it sort of hits there, we want the music to cut, and we want to do that like record skip. Also what I'm going to do is, can you see the first frame there, the explosion starting from there? So I'm just going to move that so that the explosion starts from the middle of the rocket. Yeah, so at that point there where there's the impact, there, I'm going to stop it on that frame. I'm going to grab my, I don't need the big explosion because that's got an explosion sound built in. There's a record scratch though. So I'm going to cut the music there, but I'm also going to bring in this as it cuts. So I'm going to move my timeline marker to there, mark my in point, move my timeline marker after it, mark my out point, drag that in. And I know that I want that record skip to start there. And I also want the music to stop there. So the thin places music, I'm going to grab the block and just end it there. So now if I play that through, yeah, so a little record skip, the music stops, the explosion plays, and that's sort of the end of me scene, as it were. Yeah, so we'll just play that scene through fully one more time. And there you go. There's been a disaster in a thankfully unmanned aircraft or spacecraft even. So there's no one in it. So nobody died, which is good. Nobody dying on this Friday. So yeah, I've got my scene 1, 2, and 3, and they've all had different stuff done to them. So I'm gonna drop them into the timeline now in HitFilm Express. Now in After Effects, this becomes slightly more complicated. So you would have, instead of composite shots, you would have pre-compositions. Just for anyone who has, because I know a few of you guys have dabbled. What's nice about HitFilm Express is that it's a video editor as well. So you can have like an overall timeline. If you click on your editor tab, this is just a standard video editor, and it thinks that each composite shot is its own little video. After Effects, you have to do it slightly different. So this is a big win using it in HitFilm Express. So if I open up my Scene 1 folder, in there I should have my pre-composition that's called Scene 1. And as long as I'm in my Editor tab, I can literally drag that and drop it onto there, like that. I'm just going to bring that down so you can see the little blocks. So I've got my Scene 1. And then if I close that folder, open Scene 2, I have my pre-composition, my composite shot, sorry, that's called Scene 2. I can drag that in, and it just recognizes these as two separate bit of footage, but can you see the layers aren't all separate? So I'm not coming in here and accidentally dragging like the rocket up and the clouds moving and stuff. I'm using it in the editor, so it recognizes it as just a solid block of footage with everything in it. If I open up Scene 3 and go to my Scene 3 pre-composition, or composite shot, sorry, drag that towards the end like that. Yeah, can you see now I have a minute's worth of footage and animations, but they're all separate. There's 3 separate scenes. Yeah, so in here I can play these through.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
So you get the idea. It's going to play through all of these, and then if you need to make any changes, you can just open the composite shot back up and add different elements, which we're going to do, and we'll probably do a little bit tidying up, I'd imagine. So that music just sort of wears off, as it were, and then it'll do its little descent. So if you want to do, you could do like a little, if you go into effects and we want a fade, so we want to do just a transition video fade to color. Just drag that onto the end of that. The color is going to be black, so that just fades to black. Yeah. And you could even do a effect. The audio fade as well on the end of that, and just have it fade out. Yeah, and you could do transitions between them as well, so you could have like a fade between your different scenes if you wanted. I quite like how it just cuts, to be honest. Yeah, I just want that to cut straight in. Now, if you'd closed all your scenes so they weren't open next to the editor, you go back to your media panel. And you drop down each folder that you've made, and you open up your Scene 1, double click that, it'll open it back up. So I might want to animate the clouds in this, so just to illustrate that this is how you can do it. You can come back in and make changes. So I've got me cloud layer, and I might set the keyframe to be position. And then I might not want this to make it all the way across. Do you know what I mean? I might want it to only get to, like, say there, between 0 and 20. Why is it not added a keyframe? That's because I'm an idiot and I set it for rotation. So I need to set it for position. So with my timeline marker on 0, that is, I need to set it for position. Try again. You can tell we're almost done because my brain's just completely melting now. So if we move that just a little bit across, so over the course of 20 seconds, can you see it's not moving very far? It's just sort of gently moving across the screen. So we're going to do the same with the one of the other clouds. So we'll do this one in the top. This one probably will animate off the screen, so we'll do oops, go back to 0, and we'll do a position keyframe, take the 20 seconds, and we'll just have it crept off screen like that. And the big cloud, the big boss, transform, take me timeline out to 0, position keyframe, and then just shift it, and we'll have this one sort of end there probably. So we'll play that back through now. And they're all moving at slightly different speeds.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
Yeah, and it slightly overlaps. So that one there, I might want that first cloud here at this point. That's the wrong, I think I've got the wrong one selected. Hang on. It's that one, yeah. So at the point here where it's there, I might just want it to be, say, here. And the reason I might want that is so that you see that's going to slightly overlap with the rocket again and just give it a little bit more depth. I'm also going to duplicate one of the clouds, and it's probably going to be that smaller one there. So I'm going to Control D on that, and I'm just going to have its position and change ever so slightly so that it's coming in from the left. I'm going to delete those keyframes out of that copy that I've just made. And I'm going to have it come in from the frame, so I'm going to have it at the start at 0. Be here, so position, keyframe, and after 20 seconds have it be there. So we've got a constant stream of clouds coming in, yeah.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
So that's a very good question, and it's a very good question because on scene, so I've used the same PNG on all the scenes. So if I change this PNG here, so if I go into, so you see me rocket.png here. So if I, for argument's sake, I'm going to test it now. I'm going to test it live. I've not done this in HitFilm before. So basically I've animated the clouds there. So if I go back, just to finish the point I was making before I jump onto that, but that is a very good question. I've animated the clouds in the background here, and because I've done it in the composite shot called scene 1, if I go back into my editor now, can you see I haven't had to do anything in the editor? My clouds are just automatically animated. So that's another useful aspect. Yeah.
9, 8,
So I'm not going to play it all the way through because you've already seen it. But Sue's question is, if you go back to scene 1 and make a red rocket, will it change automatically in scenes 2 and 3? The way I would do it, because I've used the same image in all 3 scenes, as in this rocket.png here, what I can do, if I go back to my folder here, if I save a version over this and re-import it with a different color, it should just work. So if I go into me, remember my EPS file, which is my big horrible Illustrator mess. If I open that up and change it in here and save a copy, or like save over the top of that one and re-import it to HitFilm, it should, in theory, sort of, I don't know what, I can't think of the word, like overwrite it. I could even, to be honest with you, I don't even really need to open that in Illustrator. Actually, I'm making this probably more complicated than it needs to be. I could open that in Photoshop or Photopea. So if I right click, open with Photoshop, it'll open with one layer, hopefully. That's the plan, that it opens with one layer. Yeah, there's the one layer there. So if I just right click on that layer, sorry, not right click, if I go to my effects, or if I right click and go to blending options, actually, it will do the same. And I can do what we call a color overlay, and its default is red, so we'll stick with red. I might lighten that up just a touch though. and then OK that. If I now do File and Save As, change the format to PNG and call it rocket.png, which is what that one's already called, and if I press Save, it already exists. Do you want to replace it? Yes. OK. And if I go back into HitFilm Express, can you see it's automatically updated that rocket to be red? So now in all my scenes, the rocket is automatically red. It just updates that straight away. And if I wanted to change it again, come in, double click on my color overlay, which you can do in PhotoPay as well. So say I wanted to make it a completely different color. Let's make it something like really bright. OK. File, Save As. As long as you're overwriting the file, so normally when you get this message and says it already exists, do you want to replace it? You'd probably normally press no, but in this case you do want to replace it. Press OK, come back into HitFilm. HitFilm sees, okay, they've changed that file. It's completely different now. And it just refreshes. And in all the scenes, so if I go back to my editor and just scrub through the scenes, can you see it'll be that colour in all of them. Yeah. And that is one really good, that is one upside to animating with images, but it works with vectors as well. So I did that with the PNG. You could also do that in Illustrator. When you're using your vectors, you just double click on it so it's highlighted and you just change the color in the top left. But it is also possible in Photoshop, and I find this probably the easiest way because it's literally just double clicking on your layer effect and just sort of messing around. So we might again just go back to, I think the red one worked quite well, to be honest, so we'll just stick with that. So File, Save As, make sure it's a PNG, make sure you're saving it over the other one. Do you want to replace it? Yes. OK. Come back in. Should just refresh like that. If it doesn't refresh, I believe you can right click, import media, and then just re-import the file. And if it's got the exact same name, i.e. rocket.png, it should overwrite it as well. No, so that's a really good question. It is, especially if you've prepared all your images and that, it can be a massive like nightmare sometimes. But yeah, so we haven't to be honest done a great deal. But I've come back in, I've animated the clouds. What could we do in scene 2? I'm not going to leave scene 2 as it is. In scene 3, where's scene 3? Yeah, scene 3. If I open that up. So as it sort of animates in and blows up, we might just want to do a little bit more with the background again. So we've got the starry background, and we might just want to have that have a very slight bit of movement on it. So we'll come down to transform, position, and drag that across the 20 seconds, and just have it ever so slightly move, like that way maybe. And again, I think that's probably too much. So if it's moved too much, I'll go back to here and we'll just have it move just a touch. So you see that background moving ever so slightly in the background now as well, and that's just another little way to give like a three flat images essentially. There we've got the rocket, we've got the planet, and we've got the background. And I've added lots and little different bits and pieces of sound in there just to give it a little bit of a little bit more depth to it. Like I say, your sound effects can really help you out in your animations. The reason I've done it in different scenes as well, to show you guys, if you're editing a video, for example, so if you've got actual video footage, say it's like a document. How many times have you been watching a documentary where like they'll get like a professor on and he'll be talking about like, I don't know, like the rate at which something cures someone, and then instead of it just being him sitting looking at the camera talking away about like boring words and scientific mumbo jumbo, it'll cut a little animation of like someone getting like, I don't know, an inoculation, or someone getting like some kind of treatment, but it's done like a little animation. So in your editor, the video footage will be here, yeah, so that the scene 1 will be like your video footage, then scene 2 it will be that little cut to that animation of it explaining it, like I had with that chart last week where like everything was animating in, and then scene 3 again might be cut back to his interview or their interview where they're just sitting and talking to the camera. So you can do it that way as well. You can edit your video as you normally would and leave a little gap in the middle and make a composite shot and have a little animation in there, and that can really really spruce up quite a boring topic, or a topic that it's hard to visualize when someone's just talking about it as well. I think that really helps. So we'll go over exporting it one more time as well, and then we'll probably watch it. So exporting it, remember we've been messing around with our in and out points. So I'm in my editor now. I'm just going to scrub it just after. So I know that I want this to end on 1 second. So I'm just going to take my timeline marker, 1 minute, sorry, to 1 minute. So it's exactly a minute there. So you see 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and that's the point I wanted to end. So the little button there is to add an endpoint, and you see it's grayed out the rest of the timeline now. I could have also gone into here, and instead of having it on 2 minutes, I don't know why it was on 2 minutes, I could have just clipped that to 1, and that was the little cog in the bottom left of the timeline. And if I go to export, add a queue, so next to export there's a little arrow, press that, add a queue, in out areas. There's the one I did yesterday, get rid of that. And then we've got the output file. So what do we want to name it? Well, we want to call it we'll call it sorry Elon.mp4, and we'll click save on that. We're going to use the preset YouTube 1080p HD. There's a few other ones on there. You can do custom ones, not going to go into it for now, really not important. And then you just click start exporting, and it should give us a duration, hopefully. I've made a really big mistake here as well. I haven't saved this project at all. So remember what I was saying to you the other week was please remember to save your work as you go, and then I haven't saved my work as I go. So don't be an idiot like me and actually do what I say. Do as I say, not as I do, I think is what my dad always tells us. Try not to get in bad habits of not saving your project as well, because you will have, if you animate something for an hour and a half and then you haven't saved it and it crashes, you're gonna be real upset. So yeah, can you see on the bottom it's giving me a progress bar, and it's telling me how much time's estimated remaining, so there's a few minutes there. So Sue, if you fire away with your question about video editing and sound, that would be fine to do now if you want. While that is exporting, I will double check to see if there's an auto save feature on HitFilm Express as well, because I don't actually know if there is. The project saves, it says there is one, but I don't know where it is. Oh god, excuse me. Options. So I wonder if I go to, oh god, file options, autosave. Mine is on. Never mind. I don't need to save mine then, because mine is on. So that's worth double checking as well, that your autosave's on. So to double check that, file, and then down to options, and then there's a tab called autosave, and you can enable project autosaving. You can change the duration as in number of minutes, like between saves, and then you can also specify a location as to where it saves. So at the moment mine's going to Documents, FX Home, HitFilm Express, autosave, and I can select that folder. If you want to save it to like a hard drive or a memory stick instead, because you don't have much space on your computer, make sure the memory stick's plugged in every time you open HitFilm, and just send it there. So yeah, that'll be quite a handy one for you, because it is a little bit of a headache, I would say, when it comes to not saving your projects. I am going to close down Photoshop. The other thing I've found with HitFilm as well is if you have a bunch of other programs. So I was working in Photoshop and Illustrator there. Once you start opening a bunch of programs, it starts lagging a little bit. So just go steady with it. If I wanted to interview clips, if I wanted 2 interview clips either side of another clip, could I have the sound from the interview as a continuous audio? Yeah. So if you go back and you watch, I don't know if you've watched all of Daniel's video editing one, I think he covered how to do like where the audio track basically keeps playing as the video track changes. So you would drag your audio in, and you would have you'd have the audio track still playing in the bottom, but you would cut your video so there'd be a gap there, or you'd have it play slightly above it. Could not mix audio samples for frame rate 1500. Oh dear. I don't know what that means. Tell you what, let's try that again then. Just delete that out. Yes. But I do want audio. That's very strange. So let's do a new preset. Let's have it MP4. Video codec H.264. Keep aspect ratio, yes. High audio. Turn the bitrate down a bit. Okay. New preset. Let's try that. Yeah, so have a look on Daniel's session and see if he's explained that particular thing. Maybe give him an email and see if he knows the exact episode, because I'm not sure. But basically, you chop out the bit of your video, but you just don't bother with the audio, so you can lock your audio tracks by pressing the padlock there, and then you could chop out. So you could get even just the razor tool and just cut the middle bit of the video, select it, and then delete that bit, so that block would be missing. That block wouldn't be there, but the audio would still be there. Unlock your audio, so as the video plays through, the video would be gone. You can even add a new video track above it as well. So at that point, say that was the interview, scene 1 and 2 were the interview there, you'd have the scene 1 and 2 audio playing, but you would just put whatever you wanted to appear above the video in the video track 2, and that would overlap that, and then when it finished it would go. It's fairly straightforward, that one, but it's just getting your head around what is shown at what moment in time. And I'm just going to hope that this preset is going to work that I've put on, and then we'll get going. But hopefully this has all made sense. We've done a whole different bunch of stuff. We've done some text animation, we've done some motion graphics, and 2D animation. I am looking to expand out into 3D, but I'm trying to, like I say, come up with some ideas that are understandable. But I will, as always, get some feedback from you guys, and you guys have done really well, asked some good questions as well. And cheers for checking in today as well, Wib. Appreciate that. Surveys, I've posted the link to the survey in already. All the stuff you'll need for any of the, if you are watching these back as well, please get in touch. But all the stuff you'll need if you are going to go back and start again and watch them and sit and do them is in the descriptions of the videos. So all the resources, the link to download the software, and I can also, I think I put it in last week, so session 4 should have the vector stuff in there, like freepik.com. that should be in there, so you should be all right with that sort of stuff as well. I'll give this one more go at exporting and playing it back. If not, I did an export yesterday that worked. I'm not going to debug the audio issues now. Hopefully you won't have them. I think my HitFilm Express needs an update as well, which is possibly causing some problems, because it did pop up this morning, but I just blanked it because I knew it would cause, like, it would take like an hour like it did the last time, and I nearly was late for the course. But yeah, appreciate you guys dropping by as always. We'll see if this one's going to export. I will repost the link to the drive, just so you guys have got the resources as well. So that is the Google Drive, and that should have all the resources from today's session on there and all. Hopefully, pop the phone on charge while I'm waiting for this to export. We cross our fingers and live in hope. Could not mix audio samples for frame 1500. I have a feeling frame 1500 is like the last one, you know. It's just been really awkward. Has it exported at all? I bet it's in the rotoscoping one, is it? Because that's where it sort of drops into. I'm a moron. All that means is one of the bits of audio is missing. So all the rest of the audio has gone out fine, and for one frame it's not referenced it properly.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
So again, now it's a red rocket as requested by Sue. You see about that gentle movement in the background as well, which gives it a little bit more motion in the background. It's not just flat and static. I'm going to do a little turn and see ya. And fade to black. Easy as that. So that's a minute animation, and again, very basic. I haven't added any of the little finishing touches that I probably would have wanted to do, but you guys are going to have a lot more time than I did. You know, for example, if I open up scene 1, I think I had a little bit of green screen footage of this aircraft doing this weird thing. So like, that would be the in point that I would probably add. Let's go back to the viewer. And I would probably drag that in underneath the rocket and go to my effects. So just remember, if you are using any of the green screen footage, it's color difference that you want on it, color difference key. And what I'd probably do with that one is give it a little rotate like that, and then I'd probably bring it down to there. But obviously we don't want that to start playing until the rocket's left. So at that point there, probably when the rocket starts moving, I would have that block start there. And I would also parent it to the rocket. So if we play that back now.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Yeah, simple as that. Little effects that you can add in, make it look a little bit better. And because I've just realised towards the end there, it sort of disappears off screen. I'll maybe just have it the rocket move a little bit further up then. So because I parented it, remember, to the rocket, it doesn't. You don't need to animate the burn, like the rocket burn. So because it's parented, so when I say parented, it's this little bit here where it'll normally say none. So you see me engine burn aircraft there. Over the right hand side, it's got rocket PNG, so it just inherits that animation as well. So that's one other thing to think about parenting stuff.
Fire!
Yeah, easy as that. That was dead quick. If you want me to recover that stuff, or you get stuck on that and the green screen stuff, give me a shout, and I will go back over that. I'm going to save my project now as well. I'm just going to call it rocket-final. So they're little touches you can put in. You know, you might leave that for a week and come back and then think, actually, yeah, I want to add the rocket, like the flame to the rocket and stuff. So I've saved that, I've exported it. I'm gonna call it there for today. I've managed to, in 2 hours, create a minute-long animation. It's not the greatest in the world. You guys have got a lot more than 2 hours, so don't stress about time. You know, you could do a couple hours at a time. You can do an hour at a time. You do 20 minutes. But yeah, that'll do for now. I will call it there and close down Hit Film Express finally. And I'll leave the stream on for a few minutes if you guys have got any questions about like feedback and stuff. Don't hesitate to get in touch. Oops, that's the wrong scene. There we go. Right, sorted. Cheers, guys.